Hello guys, Mr. DanTheMan2050 here, welcome to another video, and in today's video guys I'm going to be bringing you the £900 PC build, which is optimised for gaming. Now this is £900, this build hasn't changed much since the £800 build, I'll say that right now, but you know, we've been able to kind of upgrade to a 4th generation Intel CPU, get a miles better motherboard. We've been able to get a nicer power supply by Be Quiet, and then get some, you know, premium RAM from Corsair. So to start this build off guys, we're going to be getting the Intel Core i5. This is the 4670K. This processor runs at 3.4 GHz, is a Haswell chip and runs on the socket LGA1150. This is a new socket that I believe came out, you know, literally, you know, a few months ago. This came out late last year. And yeah, for £167 I think that's quite nice. This CPU is just a little bit faster than the i5 that was in the previous build. I believe that was the 3570K. So this is a 4670K, so it's a little bit faster. I believe it's about 7% faster. I've looked up some benchmarks online and it's about 7 times faster, but it's nearly for the same price, that's all good. Just going over to Intel's website, it tells us a little bit more about the specs. So it's 3.4 GHz. It can turbo to a frequency of 3.8, which is nice. This CPU has a TDP, a max TDP of 84 watts, and the maximum memory size can be 32 gigabytes, with the max speed being 1600 megahertz. That's all nice, no need to talk about anything else on there. So for the motherboard guys, we're going to be grabbing the Gigabyte H87-D3H. This is a full size kind of ATX motherboard with socket LGA1150. It has 4 slots for your RAM. If I just bring up a picture on here, you can see the full screen picture. So you've got miles more expansion slots with it being a bigger motherboard. You've got you know, a lot more RAM slots. And yeah, there's your new socket, the LGA1150. Now, this motherboard's a little bit different because it's running on the chipset H87, hence the kind of, you know, the chipset being in the name. And you've got a lot more USBs. Now, just going over to Gigabyte's website to see a little bit more about the actual motherboard. So here's the motherboard. If you just scroll down, so yeah, you can have 4 DIMMs up to 32 gigs, same as the CPU. If we just scroll on to expansion slots, so you get one PCI Express times 16 slot running at times 16. That's the slot where you plug your GPU in. You've got one PCI Express times 16 slot running at 4x, and then as well as that, you've actually got 2 PCI Express times 1s, so you can fit stuff like Wi-Fi adapters in there, and then you've also got 2 traditional kind of PCI slots. So this motherboard's kind of pass proof if you want to use any of your old kind of stuff on there. Now with this being the new chipset as well, you get a lot more USBs, and here you get to use RAID. Now in terms of the storage interface, you get 6 SATA 6 gigabit connectors, which is quite nice. So you can, you know, connect 6 kind of SSDs or, you know, fast devices like that. And yeah, 3 gigabit won't kind of be the limited factor there, so that's all nice. In terms of the USB 3s, you get 6 of them, 4 on the back, 2 on the front via the header. And then in terms of USB 2s, you get 8 of them, you get 4 on the back and 4 via the internal headers. That's all nice. There's no need to really mention anything else. It's a standard ATX format, and it supports Windows 7 and Windows 8, so don't try and install Vista or something, it probably won't work. Now, onto the RAM guys, we're going to be grabbing Corsair Vengeance Pro Silver RAM. So we're going to be getting 8 gigabytes, 2 4 gig sticks. The frequency on this is 1600 megahertz, and the cast latency on this is 9, as you can see there. Now this is a dual channel kit, so you can take advantages of it via the motherboard, and yeah, for £75 I thought it was quite nice because this is quite premium RAM by Corsair, as you can kind of, hence by the name Corsair Vengeance Pro for you professionals out there. But at the end of the day, if you have £900 in your pocket, you can have a Pro anyway. Or, you know, maybe you've just saved up and, you know, you want to build a really nice PC. This will be the PC for you if you know, you're wanting to do gaming and editing and things like that. Now the bulk of the build guys is the GPU, like everything. So this is the Zotac GTX 770. It's a 2 gig card. So yeah, it's a PCI Express card. You get Assassin's Creed Forwarders currently. And so the reason I chose this card, now this is £246. It's quite expensive, but the reason I chose this is because it's got quite a high boost clock. The boost clock on this is 1111 megahertz. you know, that's quite good, and that enables the card to, well, to actually boost to that higher clock when it's kind of, you know, not as hot, shall I say. This GPU has 1536 CUDA cores, and yeah, this has 2 gigs of RAM of the GDDR5. This card can take advantage of the PCI Express Gen 3, so it's a times 16. I mentioned which slot to plug that in on the motherboard earlier. This card has 2 DVIs, HDMI, and also a display port. They're the connectors on the back. You don't, oh, they are. There is a picture to kind of illustrate that. So you get 2 DVIs. I'm looking at the picture. I believe one's an I and one's a D, and then you've got HDMI, and you've also got a display port. Not a lot of you guys will use display port, but it's good for hooking up kind of multiple monitors. Display port, and I believe this display port can actually support higher resolutions. So we'll keep that there. So for, yeah, £246, that isn't a bad card at all. And a GTX 770, the actual chip is very, very fast. You know, expect to play every single game in max settings, at least at 1080p, with at least 60 FPS big time. I have a GTX 760, and I'm able to play Battlefield 4 max settings, 1080p, with at least 60 frames per second. And then kind of on like the smaller maps or game modes, I get about 70, 80. So that's quite nice indeed. Now for the SSD guys, we're gonna, you know, stick to what we're kind of used to. We're gonna go with a 250GB Samsung 840 EVO. This is a 2.5-inch SATA 6 gigabit solid state drive, and I think for £135 this is an absolute fucking bargain at the moment. It really is. The read speed on this is 540 megabytes, and the write speed is 520. In terms of the IOPS, this actually has 97,000, so it's quite high in terms of the IOPS, and I believe you guys will be very, very pleased with the performance that this SSD can deliver. Samsung make nice SSDs, and the EVO series of their Samsung, you know, 840 drives. These drives are really, really fast. I mean, blazing fast. They're ridiculous. You know, especially the read speed. But you know, that's kind of what you get from the Samsung MEX controller. So that's quite nice. Now, this is kind of the drive where you install your OS and a few games and programs and whatnot. For the actual storage, we're going to be grabbing a 2GB, not 2GB, haha, imagine that. We're going to be grabbing a 2TB Seagate Barracuda. This is a 3.5-inch SATA 3 hard drive. It's £60. It supports SATA 6 gigabit and is 7200 RPM. You mentioned that I'm saying 6 gigabit a lot, but the key link between the motherboard and all the kind of stuff we're plugging into it is that it's 6 gigabit. So yeah, they're all compatible there. Your SSD will run at its maximum speed it can. Nothing's kind of the limiting factor, so we're all good there. This is a 7200 RPM drive. There's nothing much to say about hard drive guys, apart from, you know, many, you know, more of you are kind of, you know, phasing them out of your PCs and getting SSDs. At the end of the day, they're really, really fast, and I really endorse an SSD. I have one in my build. I have a 240 gig Mushkin Kronos SSD in mine, and I'd say it's really, really fast. I mean, they're really good SSDs, they really are. Now for the power supply guys, we're going to go with a 650 watt Be Quiet modular power supply. So this power supply is modular, which is really, really good, meaning you only need to plug in the cables that you need. As you can see with the picture here, you can see the cables come in a nice bag. If I just scroll through these pictures, you can see the fan. That fan, the actual blades are being engineered, you know, very, very closely, and this fan is going to be really, really quiet, and I think you'll like this power supply, really do. So that's £78. There's nothing much to say about a power supply, apart from this one's quite special actually, because Be Quiet make really, you know, quiet stuff, hence the name. But yeah, the unique kind of selling point for this is that it has a single 12 volt rail. Many power supplies tend to have 2 or 3, and they're quite dodgy, but to have a single 12 volt rail is really, really good, because watts is not the only thing you want to be looking at when it comes to power supply. You want to be looking at the amps and the you know, volts that are available on the rails and stuff like that. So this power supply will be really, really nice to use, and since it's modular, you would have cables all over the place. So that's all good. In terms of the connectors, I believe, let's just have a look if I can find them here. I really can't find them on here, but I am aware that this power supply is capable enough to power the GTX 770. I wouldn't have put it up in the tab there if it wasn't. but this website doesn't tend to kind of display should I just say as much information as we would kind of like, but that definitely supports it. 650 watts is enough, definitely, for this build. You can power an i5 770 and many other components very, very well. Now the last part, guys, is the case. The case again hasn't really changed, but this is a Corsair Graphite 230T. This is a black MIDI windowed tower gaming case with red LED fans, hence the image. For £60, as again, this case is really, really nice. It's really high quality and looks quite sturdy. The case is sturdy itself, and it's got USB 3, which is very good, very, very good, because you can take advantage of that via the headers on the motherboard. And yeah, nice solid build. This case inside is quite nice. You've got your cutout, you've got holes for your cables. You can build a very, very nice system in this. And that's going to be about it. Just bringing up the calculator. This came to £901.95. I tend to round some prices off, but it's under £902. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Please feel free to like, comment, and also subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.